when and where do you make time to study? So this is kind of getting down to the nitty gritty. Like, all right, you're making a plan. Like, did it work doing it on the commute? Does that work? Or did you always leave work at 6 or 5 or something so you'd have some time at night? Like, how'd you make it work? How about Kyle? How don't we start with you? Do you remember? It was long ago at this point. But what worked for you in terms of when you found the time to study?
Yeah, if it's okay, I would like to just talk about my most recent experience studying for the CSE, where it was really just finding the time to do it. And what was most successful for me was going to bed at 9:45 every night. That meant I could wake up at 5:30 every morning well rested, where I found I was most successful in retaining information at that time of day. In my lifestyle as it is, I get home from work, I'm exhausted, I need to relax, my head is not retaining information, and it's not a good time for me to study. But there's really going to bed early every night that made me find the time to get that studying done.
And there's something kind of amazing by getting up at 5:30, studying for a couple of hours. It's 7:30, you take a shower, you go to work. Like the day is already successful. It's very empowering if you can make yourself do that.
And I just want to mention along similar lines. So one of the other folks who we interviewed as a result of the 7-7 campaign, she didn't fare as well as she had hoped on most of the exams. And it was interesting, as we were talking, she was telling me that she would study day after day after day, and then she was taking 7 exams consecutively. So what she said she would do is she would take the exam, come home, and then she would stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning studying, go to bed, wake up at 5:30, study for an hour or two more, and then go take the exam. And she said she kind of felt like a number of the mistakes that she made, when she looks back, she felt like, gee, those were kind of dummy mistakes. I shouldn't have made those mistakes. And as we were talking about it, she sort of attributed it to, as you just said, not getting enough sleep, which sounds kind of simple, but it's
and everybody, you have to figure that out for yourself, right? What's enough sleep for you? But yeah, so kind of just being conscious and making sort of a serious choice about it. Allison, how about you? When and how did you find time to study? Like, what was your process?
Well, I agree with Kyle that it's really hard to keep yourself up late at night studying and retain all the information, but I'm not an early bird either. So I would study in the morning on my commute, and then when it was time to cram, maybe a week or two before the exams, I would study anywhere. I would study during lunch, maybe a coffee shop or at home after work in the evenings, and then I just spend the entire weekend studying. It didn't really matter where at that point, as long as I had the book or the resource in my hand.
Yeah, and was there a difference in what you did, like on a commute, compared to what you did on the weekends? Or was it all kind of the same?
The last 3 exams, I bought a tablet, and that was like probably the best thing I did for studying. I could read all my resources, highlight them, flip back and forth. It probably seems old-fashioned to have just bought a tablet recently, but it was awesome. It really changed everything for me, and I could access, look things up on the internet right there. And we have most of our books in the office digitally as PDFs, and if some of them aren't PDFs, we have someone here who can scan it. So I had everything digitally, and that really did change my study habits towards the end, which I'd recommend.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I mean, it's really reaching into about 2014 there to be, getting your tablet. But okay, we'll go with it. I agree. I think having all that in one spot is a really useful thing. Amanda, what about you? How'd you find time? What worked and what didn't for you?
Well, I just where I found time, just like the others. So usually I would study for 30 minutes to an hour in the morning before work. I would make sure I would get up with enough time and eat my breakfast while reading a chapter or two. And then I would study again after getting home from work, maybe an hour or so worth, and then do a large chunk of studying on the weekends. And I did most everything analog, but sometimes early on, whenever I was studying for the first few tests, I had a long commute, and so I found some audio files of a lecture series on the contracts and the legal requirements. So that really helped to be able to study while I was driving, because I otherwise you can't read and drive, obviously, or I don't recommend it.
We're definitely not officially recommending that. Yes.
So yeah, finding some audio resources was really beneficial, and then I would also, on the weekends, I would often go outside, go to a park, camping was actually a really great way of getting away, but bringing my study materials. And then there's not much you can do camping. Like you can't get sidetracked by Facebook or other things like that on the internet. So
just bears, I guess.
I went. Yeah, right. So that was a great way for me to focus if I felt like I was getting sidetracked and not able to stay on track.
Yeah, it's interesting. Everybody will have their version of camping. Like, it's kind of funny to hear you say camping. But, it might be, as Mark said, going to the library, or it might be, I remember when I was doing a similar kind of thing. It wasn't this specific thing, but I was doing a similar sort of thing. I went to my in-laws have a old farmhouse, and I just took over the farmhouse for a week and laid all my books out on the giant farmhouse table, and just kind of took it over. And I was away from everything. The phone barely worked out there, all of that. So yeah, like what's your version of camping, right? That's I think the question that people should take from that.
I remember folks at least in college, who during finals week, they would rent a hotel room. Yeah. And they would just to kind of detach and put themselves in like a different mindset to help them focus.
There's a great scene in the film Paper Chase from the 70s that has a fabulous scene about that.
There you go.